We always have a look at what's happening in the world of technical stuff. Usually with Will Guyatt, who's unwell. Will, big hugs, big hugs, big hugs. However, not to be thrown off our mission every week, we are joined today by Guy Cocker. He's been on the show before. He's a technical journalist. Guy, hello and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me. Loads of things to go through, but I just wanted to kick off with something that Nick Dubois was talking about these scams, and they take all sorts of forms. I think one of the many is getting those texts that saying in the States it's UPS or the post office or something is having difficulty in delivering your parcel, blah 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 blah. But what do people need to what do we need to keep on to people about when it comes to the world of technical scams?
Yeah, I know exactly the sort of scams that you're talking about because I get them all the time, and they tend to be from delivery companies saying, we're holding a parcel for you, or you need to click this link to get your delivery. Yeah. I think the best thing that you can do is, if you're at all concerned about that stuff, is use your common sense, obviously, but also make sure you've got the latest virus protection or scanner installed. In fact, if you're on most modern devices or on Windows, for example, they're built into the system. But yeah, there is still a certain element of things can get through the cracks. I mean, I just never click on anything that I don't know for sure is going to be a legitimate source. But there are ways of telling. You can look at where the email is from. So click into the the from address and make sure it's from ups.com or any of the other delivery services. But yeah, I think the future of this technology is going to be people using AI to try and send fake emails to scam people, and then there's going to be AI used to try and intercept those messages before they get to the recipient. So it's kind of it's a battle between AI on both sides, really.
Oh, okay. So let's go through some of the news now. I know this story is from 2016. Stick with me. Back in 2016, there were big headlines about Samsung presenting the first Samsung safety truck prototype. What it was a truck with two built-in front cameras and a specially designed transportation software to capture and transmit a picture of the road ahead, enabling trailing vehicles to evaluate more accurately passing potential and make more informed driving decisions. So here's a truck, and on the back of it, in the picture I saw online, it's showing motorists what's ahead of them so they know whether it's safe or not to overtake. So I thought, what a good invention. Why is it not taken off? I mean, I'm guessing there are quite a lot of tech stuff that are great ideas that hasn't, but what is it about this one?
Yeah, I don't know why it hasn't taken off. I was just at the Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, which is where the tech industry shows off all of its latest wares, and I certainly didn't see anything about this specialist safety truck. It was for roads in South America, specifically Argentina, where they tend to be single tracks, and I've never driven in South America, but I've driven in places like Jamaica and the Caribbean, and some of the drivers there, they tend to just overtake without really checking whether it's safe or not. The Samsung technology would use cameras at the front of the truck to project an image of what was in front of it to screens on the back. And like you say, this was in 2016. That, to me, that technology seems almost quite antiquated now because it's just screens. The latest research that I could find for what Samsung was trying to do next was actually create an almost transparent truck by covering all of the panels of the truck in essentially television screens. That would mean that you could essentially, it would use the cameras at the front of the truck, and you could essentially just see right through the truck. So the idea is you want to be able to see, if you're trying to overtake on a single track road, you want to be able to see around the massive truck before you start overtaking it. And I think the stats in Argentina that there was one fatal incident per hour in Argentina. It's a real big problem for them.
God.
So I think that's where the technology is going to go. And I think if you look at
do my head in.
What, being able to see through the truck?
Yeah.
I guess it takes some getting used to, but in technology it moves quickly, and we quickly adapt to these new types of technology. So while it might be a bit off-putting for you to be able to essentially see through a giant truck while you're on the road, and it might be off-putting for some road users, I think ultimately if you can see what's coming down the road ahead of you, then that's going to increase safety. Of course, the safest thing to do is just to not overtake if you're in any, if you're questioning it at all. But yeah, the technology is getting more and more interesting. I mean, they're doing lots of stuff in transportation where they're sort of saying you won't have windows in planes anymore because that's actually a weak point of the structure of the plane, and they'll just have screens in there eventually, and that will allow them to make the plane more fuel efficient, and that will be a strange experience for a lot of people, knowing that you can't just look out the window, you're looking out of essentially a TV screen. But I think that's the way this technology is going.
About that.
Yeah.
So hang on. So the TV screens on your plane will be probably showing what cameras are showing of what you would see if you could look out the window. So you'll just see clouds and things. You could have real fun, couldn't you? You could put UFOs and things on it.
Well, exactly. You could pretend you're in space, or play around with the technology, and that's great. You should be designing this stuff, Trisha. That's a great idea.
Can you imagine? Oh, Captain, there's Captain Kirk's right next to me. Let's move on now. From our Samsung ad of what didn't happen. Elon Musk has revealed first human has had a brain implant from Neuralink's new telepathy product, allowing people to use technology just by thinking. Now, he announced this news on X, saying the operation happened on last week on Sunday. They haven't revealed which patient it was. He apparently has become the first human to have a Neuralink microchip implanted into their brain. Musk said it will be able to control your phone or your computer and through them almost any device just by thinking. Initially, he was talking about it being for people with disabilities. Now, there's also reports I read about all these animals that they have to practice this on, and like monkeys having stuff drilled into their heads and glue being poured in, and all sorts of horrific things. Experts say that the brain implants will require extensive testing to overcome technical and ethical challenges if they're going to become widely available. They're worried about things like the lithium battery in the device, the possibility of the implant's wires migrating within the brain, and the challenge of safely extracting the device without damaging brain tissue. I'm speechless. I'm worried. What are your thoughts on this guy? Is this a step towards some sort of hybrid thing you'd see in sci-fi, or a step in the right direction? What are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to say about this, and it's the latest, in Elon Musk news, which is the person that just keeps giving in the tech world. So yeah, I mean, the patient has had the back of their skull opened up. I think it's actually the top of the skull, and a small chip implanted. And like you say, the company that Musk owns, Neuralink, which is another one of his companies, like Tesla, SpaceX, X now. They've been allowed to do human trials, and there was some controversy because a employee of the company spoke out and said, yes, we were doing all this animal testing, and there were lots of concerns. Even some of the terms you were using there, a lithium battery, right? So this chip has to be powered. A lithium battery is what's in your phone, and if you think about some of the stories that have done the rounds with lithium batteries exploding on planes and just generally not lasting a very long time, then that's sort of the last thing that I would want to have put into my body personally. So well done to the person that was up for doing the human trial. I sort of suspect it might be Musk himself, but no evidence for that. But he's the sort of person that would try and push the technology forward. In fact, he told his engineers to, because they're getting a lot of competition from other firms, to act like this is the thing that's going to save humanity. Get on this. I actually think that AI genuinely is the most interesting and exciting thing that's happening in tech at the moment. But I think over the next 20 or 30 years, this idea of human augmentation, so in this case, it's supposed to be for, I think Musk said the ideal candidate is someone under 40 who has lost the use of their motor functions, and it allows you, the example that he used was Stephen Hawking. So instead of using a machine that then he has to type into and then output speech, this is just a direct link to that computer. So it could be instantaneous, which is really exciting. But I think this idea of humans being augmented is actually going to become more commonplace. We've heard a lot of excitable employees having chips put under their hands so they can enter a building or pay on a credit card. I think this is just the beginning. I think longer term, this is the big sort of evolution almost of not to get too highbrow, but the evolution of the human race, I think.
Really, because here's the thing, initially he's talking about people with disabilities and what have you, but it's not, come on, we know it's not going to stop there. We absolutely know it's going to, and wasn't it one of his ex-partners who actually said it can't be like X or the space mission where you have 3 explosions? That's not going to cut it. Is it not a slippery slope trying to integrate technology that intimately with the human brain?
Well, that's exactly it. Yeah, I mean, the example that Musk gave was to his engineers at Neuralink, who are putting these chips into chimpanzees and now humans. He was saying we need to move at the pace of SpaceX, and their rockets, which they were launching for years, were blowing up and they weren't landing and they were all going wrong. Now they're very good, and there was that period, of a few years where there was just catastrophe after catastrophe. You can't really do that when you're putting a chip into someone's brain. I think that the US government was concerned that the lithium batteries wouldn't last and might leak into the brain. The wiring might cause problems. The chip might move around inside your body. So there's lots of stuff. I mean, look, it's a very difficult one. I think that there is genuine use for technology like this. Like you say, yes, it's being used at the moment to help people with disabilities, which is fantastic. But clearly, there's a potential for it to be used to improve intelligence, to improve reaction time. I mean, there's really no
because we know technology, and that's a whole area. Technology in war is one of the fastest growing areas, and it's where people can make the most money.
Yeah, for sure. So augmenting soldiers is obviously that's sort of the realms of sci-fi, right? We've seen that in movies a lot of the time, but yeah, and it doesn't stop with the brain. It could be improving muscle capacity, or basically it's the realms of science fiction if you take it far enough. So yeah, there is some concerns there. I certainly wouldn't be volunteering to have one of Elon Musk's chips in my brains, but let's see where we're at in 10 years' time, I guess.
Yeah, I prefer my chips with salt and vinegar. Thank you very much. People sharing deep fakes or cyber flashing could face charges. Prosecutors have been told to consider charging anyone who disseminates unauthorized, explicit deep fake images. Recent online safety laws take hold. Now, we talked last week about Taylor Swift being on the end of this, and lots of people. I saw, I think, an article. I think it was in either the Times or the Guardian, about somebody saying that they too had been in that situation. Sorry. Yeah. So, I mean, is this new? Is this something that we're going to see more and more of?
I missed about that question, Trisha, but I think you're saying is it new? Is this legislation needing to catch up? And yes, I think that technology again is moving so quickly. So this is the realm of AI. Last time I was on the show, Trisha, we used ChatGPT to write a Shakespearean love letter for you, and that's something that's now, even I think that was maybe 4 or 5 months ago. Now that's really commonly used. That technology within business. There was a story of a Mac employee, the cosmetics company in the US, who had to reapply for her role, and she apparently aced all of the practical tests, but she had a re-interview. AI was used to gauge the body language of this participant, and she didn't get the role, and so that technology has been stopped right now. But yeah, in terms of where we're at with things like revenge porn and sort of deep faking, that technology, it's the UK legislation catching up really to how the technology is being used now. It's very easy on the latest phones. You can just type in, create me a wallpaper featuring, I don't know, unicorns or whatever you want to do, and it will do it. And on the sort of the more evil side of that technology, it's very easy for people to create fake images or to disseminate images of exes, or they could be fakes, and really the legislation needs to catch up to make sure that's a criminal activity, and that people are going to be punished for that, because it's the same intent. It's the intent to hurt or to damage other people, and as we saw with Taylor Swift, either this week or last week, I lost track now, but she, a lot of people, this spread really, really quickly, and there were fake pictures of Taylor Swift, and the technology is just going to move really quickly, and it can do a lot of damage.
Yeah, I remember talking about last week the fact that it did unfortunately, sadly, happen to Taylor Swift, was what actually gave the US government a kick up the backside to get on and move stuff. Sadly, things that only seem to happen when a famous person is involved with that. Thank you for stepping into the breach. Thank you so much for that. That's Guy Cocker, tech journalist, talking about the news when it comes to technical things. In a moment.